and welcome to MotorInc First. This is a MotorInc First that I have really been looking forward to. We're going to be talking about the TVS Ntorq new gen. Is that it? That's
Just say
what I
150,
expected.
man. Just say 150.
Does the 125 exist still?
Yeah.
It does. So
Of
this
course,
is the
you can't retire a successful product.
okay. So this is
And a
sitting
successful
above
product.
that.
And a successful product can be a source of profit and a pair of handcuffs.
Okay, fine. So this is already headed in a direction that not that I,
No. It's not a bad scooter. But you
okay.
will see the handcuffs arriving here and there. And a lot of the questions that we will get from questions from circles
Okay.
will come from the angle of, well, why didn't they do that? And it's
Acha.
because of the success of the Ntorq 125 that they couldn't do it.
Okay then.
So it's a good scooter, but it is not what you expect.
Okay, so let me say what I'm expecting. I'm
I
expecting.
actually wanted to start there. What do you, and you should know that I have only ever owned 2 scooters in my life. My very first two-wheeler was a Kinetic Honda, and the only other scooter I've ever bought was an Ntorq 125. So I have perspective here that not just from the testers, and the perspective is super important because this scooter will break a few expectations. So what do you remember of riding the Ntorq 125?
The first thing that I remember about the Ntorq 125 was not even riding it. The teaser that came out. You remember where it was the dark thing and you could see the rear bits of the rear, whereas those vents, like you could
Yeah.
see that, and the exhaust note. And you're like, and I remember back then we were thinking, is this a motorcycle? Right?
Correct.
Because of the exhaust note.
Yes.
So the exhaust note was a big part of the signature of the bike.
Yes.
And then riding it, it had performance.
Right.
But it also wasn't the smoothest bike around. It had a YB character to it. I remember the panels used to have a little bit of rattles initially, especially initially because there were so many layers and all to that. It was fun. It was light. It was like a sharpish scooter. But yeah, I think the polish aspect of it was the thing that felt a little bit lacking. And as an owner, you'd know about the early start cranking issues and stuff like that. Was something that people struggled with. But yeah, it was a compromise you found. So I think from the 150, you expect a step up, a slight step up in performance. I'm really didn't think that it would be a massive step up in performance.
Okay.
But I thought it would be a more polished and a more modern feeling scooter now.
Okay.
That's
Okay. So sound?
yeah.
The Ntorq 125 came out BS3. We are at BS6 phase 2.
Yeah.
So it can't be that loud anymore. It's a nice exhaust sound. I'm not saying it's not.
Okay.
But it can't be that loud anymore. So that's one aspect that TVS has no real control over. Second, it's not a brand new scooter.
Okay.
It's 7 years later, for sure. But this is not a brand new scooter. In most ways, this is an evolution of the Ntorq 125.
Okay.
I just want to set agenda clearly because you will understand why I'm saying these things now. And qualitatively, TVS obviously has come a long way from the Ntorq 125. And that is absolutely obvious. So this is a high quality scooter for sure.
Okay.
So to answer your basic 3 questions that you started out with, this is where we are at.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about this is you have to ask why it took TVS 7 years to get here. Because the Ntorq 125 is 7 years old and it is still the same scooter. They haven't really updated it. And this is, to them, the step up from that scooter. And the reason why I'm focusing on this still 5 minutes into this story is the idea that if you've ridden an Ntorq 125 before, then the Ntorq 150 will not meet some of your expectations. At the top level, for example, the sound. The Ntorq 125 will sound nicer.
Yeah.
But if you've never ridden an Ntorq before, then I think you will really enjoy what the Ntorq 150 offers. Only some parts of this continuum braking is being done by emissions and external factors. Some of it is TVS at it. And I'm in admiration of what they've done because if you think about the Ntorq 125, it was a very unusual product for TVS to make 7 years ago.
Actually, think about it. This was the other thing I was thinking. Who else made a sporty scooter?
Correct. It was an unusual product for TVS to make. They made a lot of mistakes in the process. And I'm actually calling them mistakes in hindsight because today it works for the Ntorq, but they were not the right thing to do as it were.
As in?
For example, would you call the TVS Ntorq 125 suspension good suspension from any objective angle?
No.
But all the mistakes that suspension makes as you ride add up to the feeling of what that scooter does. And you say, that's an Ntorq and I like it. right? Which is why I've always said this idea that two-wheelers aren't perfect, but if the flaws are in the right place, then it can approach perfection from the weirdest angles possible. And to me, the Ntorq was a weird scooter that way that really, really works even today. And even today, I'm telling you, if you buy anything other than the Race XP and do not ride in the top mode of the Race XP, the 125, you're not having the Ntorq experience. You're having something approximating it.
Okay.
They sell the TFT model a lot, but that's not the powerful Ntorq. Then they have those weird super squad models which have the Marvel characters on it.
Okay.
That's not the Ntorq experience. It only looks like it, and so on and so forth.
There's a different tune?
There's two different tunes. The Race XP gets the highest state of tune, and even there are two riding modes, where the street mode is a very gentle mode. And I'm telling you that the Race XP in race mode is the Ntorq experience, and none of the other Ntorqs are the true Ntorq experience, because there is a difference in there.
So the original Ntorq that came out, which was just one flavor.
Was a slightly less powerful version. The Race XP is a slightly more powerful version
Oh, are
today.
you serious?
Yeah. It's 1.5 bhp or some small number
Because
like that.
I remember what I remember the Ntorq was that Ishan used to have it. Na? So every time you had to run around the office, anybody had to go anywhere, you'd borrow his scooter. And every time you'd get on it, you'd be like, no, this time I'll behave. I will ride normally, like this is a scooter, right? And then you get on and then you're just like, whack.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't help it.
You couldn't
just
help it.
went mad with that thing.
Yeah.
So the XP, Race XP is a step above that.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a giant flying leap forward. I'm
No,
just
but
saying that
still.
is the maxed Ntorq 125 that TVS ever made. Right? The only thing even more hardcore than that was the rally edition of the N125, at which point, of course, it's not a scooter anymore. They've done a lot of work in it now. So to set the agenda correctly, this is the same frame as the Ntorq 125.
Okay.
The wheelbase is the same, the ground clearance is roughly the same, seat height is roughly the same, for example, and therefore it still has 12-inch wheels. It has not moved on in any form or fashion from there.
Okay.
But TVS has learned a lot along the way, and they've used their learnings. So we've always said the Ntorq was unusually heavy. And I distinctly remember a conversation where somebody who I cannot name anymore says there was at least 8 to 11 kilos extra on the Ntorq 125 because they were building this for the first time. They were not sure about whether to go fully lightweight, middle way, heavier way, etc. So there was, to them, as much as 11 kilos extra on that chassis, still is, because they haven't updated that chassis. This scooter was very, very consciously made from the effort of, we will make this light if possible. So this scooter weighs only 115 kilos.
Okay.
Just to give you a sense of where we are at, this scooter sort of borders on the 150s, the Aerox and the Zoom 160, for example. The Zoom 160, 142 kilos. So if the Zoom 160 is making, let's call it 2 bhp more, which is the Aerox, roughly 15 bhp, this scooter is running 30 kilos less. So the performance advantage will probably be in the favor of the TVS, although it is a smaller and lighter scooter with smaller wheels.
The Aerox won't be a fair comparison.
The Aerox is still heavier, but much lighter than the Zoom 160. The Zoom 160 is by far the heaviest scooter in this group.
The Zoom 160 is the heaviest.
Yeah, the Aerox is still, I think, the most powerful of these scooters by a small margin, but where the TVS has the big advantage, and TVS is very savvy at this. This is the scooter with the maximum peak torque. This is the scooter with the peak torque arrives the earliest.
Okay.
What they've done, and I swear it is the most weird double-edged sword, is they have put all the maturity of engineering that they've learned along the way into the Ntorq 150. So the feel of the rawness of the 125 has disappeared. So you have a very mature, slick, sophisticated product in feel, and I'm not convinced that it's all good. Because sometimes I did on this ride, I rode that TVS loop track where there's just one right turn and a little left kind of thing. I sometimes miss the raw feeling of the Ntorq 125, and sometimes I was like, no, I really like this slickness more, and I vacillated between this state and that state and this state and that state.
I get it.
Yeah. So underneath the frame is 125, reinforced, lightened, rethought through, but they didn't change the format at all.
How have they lightened the frame if it's the same in that sense?
Materials would have moved on. Some of the extra bracing and the weight was there. Like I said, they had already more or less said, and officially, unofficially, I don't remember now because this is a long time ago, but unofficially / officially, there was extra weight on that bike anyway. And I'm saying I bought my Ntorq and took off the center stand and took off the grab rail and all of that. And one insurance guy, because I was switching policies and I made a mistake with the date, came and looked at it and said, oh, stunter. He said, what do you mean stunter? Like I'm 45 years old or something. So he's looking at me saying, oh, stunter. I'm like, are you serious? This is my scooter, it's not my son's scooter or something. नहीं आप स्टंटिंग करते हैं. ऐसे क्यों? ऐसे स्टंटिंग वाला स्कूटर ऐसे ही दिखता है ना, एक भी गार्ड नहीं है, ग्रैब रेल नहीं है, सेंटर स्टैंड नहीं है, लेकिन एग्जॉस्ट स्टॉक क्यों? आप स्टंटिंग करते हो तो एग्जॉस्ट भी डाल दो. दिस इज द इंश्योरेंस सर्वेयर. So it has that image, right?
Okay.
So they cleaned it up and they refined it, and maturity has happened, and they've readjusted the suspension because the weight has changed so fundamentally, right? So if I remember correctly, the static sag is a little bit higher, so it sits higher on the suspension. The suspension units have been retuned, the compression damping. We're talking about a scooter, right? The wheels are roughly the same size. They're still TVS Remora tires, which are excellent tires, etc., etc. So the baseline of the scooter is the skin is new, and under the skin it is mostly evolved. Okay, now the engine, it's the same base engine as the Ntorq 125, which was a slightly long stroke engine. This is a much larger engine, but also a slightly longer stroke engine. So in there are lighter pistons than before, wider bore, longer stroke, etc., etc. And this amounts to 13.2 PS.
From? As in the 125 was how much?
11-ish. Okay, and the street mode on this scooter is 10.6. So in theory, in the street mode on the Ntorq 150, you're doing roughly the same performance as the Ntorq 125. Okay, so it's a smooth engine, which we can't really say for the old Ntorq.
Yeah.
The old Ntorq had a little bit of, this is a smooth engine. It goes up to 104 officially on the GPS. It shows 108, 109. If you're lighter, you will see more. And I hit 109 on this scooter. So at, I'm going to say 100 plus, that rubber band kind of feeling that you get from scooters at the top with CVTs, it's like that feeling you get, but it's right at the top. It's not anywhere in the middle. It's smoothened out in the middle, which the Ntorq 125 could not be accused of. So you can see that every single aspect of the Ntorq 125 has been brought forward some way or another. It's gained maturity and refinement, and which is why I said, if you've ridden an Ntorq 125, I'm not sure you're going to enjoy all aspects of the Ntorq 150.
I'm just going to tell you now, while Shumi's been talking, I'm like flashbacking to the 125 when I last rode it, and that was a long time back. And which is why I was a little hesitant when I spoke about the handling, because I remember it being fun, but was it light feeling? I wasn't sure.
It wasn't.
It wasn't,
No.
right? But what undoubtedly I remember is that the sensation of the Ntorq is A, sound, and 2 is the pulse. Like when you accelerate, you can always feel that vibe through the handlebar, through the scooter, and that transition point, that in between when you're accelerating, it had that one point where it went, and then you felt it all the more, and then it would move on.
Yeah.
And which is why, so what changes you made is maybe what I wanted, but not right for everybody.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you have context on the Ntorq 125, you're going to have lots of questions. If you don't have context, you're going to say, oh, that's nice. So if you've ridden an Ntorq 125, I know that you have questions about the Ntorq 150, but I never actually had a conversation with somebody at TVS saying, what percentage of Ntorq 150 buyers are you expecting to see as upgraders from 125s? And how many will be brand new customers who've just shown up? Right? Because the baseline, I believe, is if 35% of our market is moving on to scooters and the number keeps growing in terms of percentage as two-wheelers, a large part of that is happening in the 125cc class as we become aspirationally more active. And it's not, I need a scooter, I have to have an Activa anymore. Or it is at least changing fundamentally. And Honda is not able to capitalize on that part of the demand as well as they'd like to. In that scenario, people have to show up and buy newer and more different kinds of products. It has to segment up a little bit. Now, I think in questions from circles, which will be a segment towards the end of this video, if you're on YouTube, you will not see it. It's only on the app. People from the app ask questions and we answer those questions. In those questions will be questions about saying, motorcycle segmentation, I understand. There is something called an EDV and blah, blah, blah. What are scooter segments? We will answer that question. So I believe this movement is happening in that direction where aspiration is there, a little bit more evolution is required, and a sporty scooter is a natural evolution. As usual, I think TVS could have really pushed the sportification of the Ntorq 150 further. As usual, if you do that, it becomes more and more and more niche. And TVS says, maybe niche Ntorq is the next step. So maybe when this thing gets the race XP, there will be even more performance. But it will be the generation 3 of the Ntorq, which will have the 14-inch wheels and the tunnel in the floorboard and all of that, and become a proper sporty scooter that says, you know what, screw practicality, it's not important. But using the old platform also causes other issues.
Okay.
For example, luckily for TVS, they'd already designed the fuel filler cap to be at the end of the scooter. I am going to tell you that that panel, I don't think has actually changed at all. If you thought that that panel was a little creaky, it was. I think this is also still going to be a little bit creaky. There is a plastic surround, and that surround is just loose and it never really sits on the bodywork cleanly, and it's one of the dirtiest parts of the Ntorq. It's also the dirtiest part of the Ntorq 150.
Okay.
Okay, TVS doesn't put a damper on the spring that opens the fuel filler cap. So I feel like it always surprises you, like the cat in a horror film, you know, and there's the tense scene, and then instead of something actually bad happening, a cat jumps out or whatever, the fuel filler cap is like that. Still like that. So they have not actually made major changes on this scooter in these kind of places.
Okay.
Therefore, underseat storage is 21 liters. It's nowhere close to what TVS is doing for their other scooters today. So the Orbiter, 34 liters. Jupiter, 33 liters. iQube, 33 liters.
And no, you haven't missed anything. We haven't spoken about the Orbiter yet on the
No,
MotorInc First.
Orbiter, we haven't ridden yet as we record this. We will record that after we ride it. But we know the specs because the prices, etc. are out, right? So if you see, TVS's scooters have all moved on one way or another to 30-ish. Not the Ntorq, 21 liters. Why? Because it has not repackaged the scooter fully. So it has a 5.8 liter fuel tank, which remains in that space just above the rear wheel. So between the 12-inch rear wheel and the fuel tank and the engine sitting there, they can't make a larger underseat storage space unless they were to expand the platform or reorganize the platform, and they haven't done it.
Okay. How much has the price gone up from the 125? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand where this is really fitting as an
don't
idea.
worry about the 125 price. Think about it like this. This scooter costs 1,19,000 and 29 for the two variants. And the 150s today are sitting at 1.5 lakh rupees. The most 110s sit at just from 80 to about 1.05.
Okay.
So in this price band is everything. So your cheapest scooters are sitting at about 80, 85. I see. We're not talking electrics as a direct reference here. The most expensive 110s, 125s, they're all about 1,05,000. This new class, which is slightly sportier, slightly more premium, seems to start at 1.1 to 1.2 lakhs. No, 1.2 to 1.3 lakhs.
Okay.
And there's only one scooter in there right now, which is the Ntorq 150. This has always been a slightly expensive.
And the Zoom and the...
They are at 1.5.
1.5. Okay. Okay.
So TVS is, I always call them conservative and they hedge their bets. And to me, this is a hedged bet. It sits close enough to the Ntorq 125 to be within your consideration set. But it is also sitting close enough to the larger maxi scooters to also be in your consideration set. Although by no definition is it a maxi scooter. It is a regular scooter.
Okay.
The cheap large scooter is also not a maxi scooter. That would be the Aprilia SR 175, which is roughly the same price as the Ntorq 150.
Okay.
Roughly.
SR 175 is roughly the same price as the Ntorq 150.
Yeah.
Okay. Because as you were describing it, I started thinking, except for the suspension on the Aerox, right, which was firm, but now they fixed that, right, with the suspension update. The refinement of it is good. The performance of it is strong. So is this like a more affordable version of that? Because that's also a polished bike. There's nothing raw about it in that sense. It has good performance and it's a scooter.
Yeah, but the Aerox suspension has never clicked into place in the first place, right?
I don't know. I haven't ridden the post-update ones.
Yeah, so what has happened for the first one was suspension was way too stiff. And therefore there is this whole bunch of people who are messing around with suspension. Like Vikrant has Oleans on his Aerox. And he's happy with it, etc. But it's a ridiculously expensive fix.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Varun Painter also has Aerox, and he's also, between the parts that he's gotten for testing and the parts that he's purchased, he also spent a lot of time fixing that scooter for himself.
Front and rear?
Yeah. So now in the 2025 model, the stories are on the app and you can go check them out there. They did finally sort out the rear suspension. But in the process, now the front feels too soft. Right? So it is absorbing many things, and then without warning, it will bottom out. You can find these posts on motoring circles where people say, so you buy the 2025 and then you add 5 ml of more fuel, more fork fluid into the fork, and that will solve your front end bottoming issues, and the compression comes up and then the balance is there. You're telling me Yamaha couldn't figure out 5 ml. So the Aerox has always had a stable engine. It looks like that, and if you're not exceptionally tall, it's a reasonably spacious scooter because it's a Southeast Asian scooter. They didn't redesign it for us. What they touched was the suspension, and when they touched the suspension, it went south. The first time in 2024, we're making it too stiff. And in 2025, we're not balancing the front and the rear out still. You still do have to work on yourself.
Oh
You just have to
my.
do less work now. And don't get me wrong, I love the Aerox. But if I bought an Aerox, is it a finished product? No. It needs you to still participate in fixing the scooter, which is a positive or a negative depending on your perspective on scooters.
Okay, so which brings up the next question. Performance.
It's good.
Because of the lightweight, the strong torque,
It is. It's good.
it works.
Yeah. The feel of the Ntorq 125 is not there. It's a subtle, sophisticated, fast. But can you feel it? I'm telling you, I can't wait to ride this on the street because on the TVS track, all your usual reference points are gone. Right? So I'm correlating from the idea saying I took a scooter from standstill at this end of the track, I ran till the other end, and I have Insta360 footage where I think I'm tipping it at 109. That is a lot of acceleration for an automatic. So basically, in that small distance, which I think is 450 meters or 400 meters, the whole track is 1.8 kilometers. In that distance, the scooter is able to go from a standing start to its top speed. That is not insignificant. Out of which I'm going to say 85, 90 is easily achievable, and then it sort of calms down and slows down a little bit. But it gets to 104 GPS and 109 or whatever indicated without feeling like it is working super hard, which is awesome. But on the Ntorq 125, you would feel all of this work happening, and there is a pro and a con to it. And on the 150, it feels quiet, refined, and authoritative, and there is a pro and con to that too. So I'm telling you that I got off this scooter, and my first reaction was, did I really feel that? Did it do something here, which the Ntorq 125 does so easily? And it was later, because it's Bengaluru and you spend hours in a taxi getting there and getting back. On the way back, I was mulling that idea over. And I'm still not definitively, conclusively decided that this is a superior experience to the 125 or not, because I can see the pros and I can see the cons. But without traffic to deal with, I can't click it into place and say definite improvement or on the same spectrum as the Ntorq 125 for feeling, etc., because this is just a very sophisticated scooter now.
This sounds like my kind of scooter. I'm liking it more and more the I listen to it.
Yeah, so TVS's test track is a really old test track, and slowly the land underneath is starting to move, and there are a few bumps there. When I hit those bumps, I thought, oh, that's kind of stiff.
Oh.
Now, stiff on an Ntorq is okay.
Yeah.
But is it too stiff? I don't have a conclusion.
That you won't be able to judge.
I don't have a conclusion whether it is too stiff or not. But I definitely do not have a conclusion that it is Aerox stiff. No, of course not. I definitely have a conclusion that it is controlled because it hits a bump and it stabilizes straight away. So I can't see a suspension setting issue. I can see a suspension choice issue. I don't know. I didn't ride it in traffic yet. So I think this is going to feel sporty in traffic. I think it is going to feel quick in traffic. I think it is going to sound nice enough despite all the emissions-related throttling that has happened to the noise. But are you going to say this is as exciting to ride as an Ntorq 125? I'm not sure yet.
To me, it is sounding like it's not going to be as exciting as the Ntorq 125, clearly. But the question is, will you be able to use it more, be quicker with it?
Yes.
And be able to do more without getting as, let's say, worn out?
Yes, I think so.
And that sounds like...
conclusively, I think, yes.
Only thing remaining is the suspension now in the real world, how it ends up.
Yeah, because the brakes work. It's super confident in the corners, as Ntorqs have always been. I think actually the Scooty Zest, I'm putting the dots together, I think the Scooty Zest is actually the best handling TVS scooter. It gets the balance absolutely right. If I were buying a scooter today, I would actually buy, still, after everything has been said and done, a Scooty Zest. And if TVS were to make a Scooty Zest 250, 250, take my money now. I'll give the money right now. Just make it feel faster and the same as the current Scooty Zest. Exactly. I don't want a single change. Yeah. It's the scooter that I have ridden the longest, the happiest, and worn out the most of the undercarriage. Correct. Was the Scooty Zest, right? So since we are on wearing out the undercarriage, so confident that there is a little plastic thingy that sticks out over the, I think, the center stand mount or something, that was scraping in that corner within the second lap. I have never scraped anything on the second lap on that track. It is that kind of confident. So now then I have to evaluate whether is it in my way? Like, is it interrupting my flow or is it not interrupting my flow? So then I had to stop and I had to look at what was scraping, and it was that plastic. And then I said, okay, so until I hear metal scraping sounds, I'll be okay. And then I basically continued to ride it, and I had won a significant part of that by the end of that.
Does this also have ride modes and stuff?
It has 2 ride modes. There's so once we come to the features and gimmicks and all of this, then the story will start to go sideways as it happens at TVS today.
Okay, no, the only reason I asked was because you said in the Ntorq with the race XP, there's a higher mode.
Yeah, same here. Now starts to get complicated. Okay. Good thing. They've got a integrated starter generator, so this thing starts up without the cranking noise. And as usual, therefore they turn it into a reverse hybrid system, as it were. And there is iGo. They also have the start-stop system.
What?
iGo Boost is then TVS branding for it.
And what does that do?
I tell you. So basic system, start-stop. Start-stop is available in street mode. Okay, so you can decide whether I have lots of small traffic lights, I keep stopping, so 1 second later if it cuts off we are good, or you can decide that I have relatively whatever and I want to have it idle for 5-6 seconds before it decides to switch itself off, your call. Okay, so this is in street mode. The iGo Boost only activates in race mode. I don't know if it's called race mode, I think it is called race mode. In race mode, then you have boost also, which is some 0.2 kilowatt or some small number like that. It reduces 0 to 60 by something. This is a 5 ampere hour battery. For reference, the Yamaha R15 has a 4 ampere hour battery. So this is a big battery. And what they're using this big battery for is to give you 2 boosts per charge. So every so many kilometers, the battery is at full, you go full acceleration, you get boost. On a test track, you do not notice the boost at all. In traffic, if you pay attention, you can make out that the difference is there. So if TVS were to say we have a less expensive non-boosted version of the Ntorq 150, I would buy that. Because to me, the delta that I'm gaining from it is not big enough to justify whatever percentage cost that TVS is adding to the cost. But TVS likes to do these technology things, so they have. The Ntorq 150 is a 150, therefore it has front ABS. The rear is a drum brake, so they can't have ABS. So they've retuned the combined braking system and whatever TVS calls it. They have traction control. Which I did not play with, so I don't know the details of how well it works. There's supposedly some adjustability built into it. I don't know what that is because to me, this is not a fast enough scooter to require traction control. And if it had inferior tires, which it does not, if it had an inferior chassis, which it does not, then I would worry about these things. So to me, whether it has iGo Boost or not, whether it has traction control or not, makes absolutely no difference to my purchase decision. Whether these things actually add value, we will figure out when it comes for testing. Now, there is a difference in the horsepower in the 2 riding modes and throttle response. So street mode is more mellow. And if I thought that the sport mode was almost verging on boring in terms of it's so sophisticated that you can't feel much, then street mode obviously feels even more mellow, which is not a good or a bad thing. It is an expectation thing. So if let's imagine that you're a 30-year-old and your father's going to ride or mother's going to ride the Ntorq 150 in street mode, I think it might be actually right up their alley. Whereas it may not be up your alley, so you're having that option, fair enough, and the difference is large enough, which is to me the critical thing about riding modes more than anything else. If I can't feel the difference, then why the hell is it there? The difference is obvious. So you have 10.6 bhp maxed in street mode and 13.2 bhp maxed in race mode. And in race mode, you have crisper throttle response, whereas in street mode, you have mellower throttle response. Now, the CVT tuning is pretty accurate in the sense of it is taut, it is responsive, but Aprilia still does the most hardcore CVT where it feels instant. If you have that kind of instant and sharp throttle response, for example in street mode, in race mode, then I think the Ntorq 150 sporty feeling can be enhanced further. Not a crisis, but there is an opportunity there. So I'm going to say I just can't remember whether the SR 175 has been done as MotorInc First or View at all, but I have ridden the scooter. The engine is the highlight of that scooter. And the thing that I really like about the scooter is it feels as direct as a manual transmission in some ways. You do this and it gives you a response. Most of the scooters build up to a response, which for a 14 bhp scooter honestly is not required. You can just nail it and have it work. Now, so plus all the usual Bluetooth features and blah, blah, blah. Everything is there.
What kind of screen?
TFT screen on the top model and non-TFT LCD type of thing on the base model. The difference is 10,000 rupees. If you buy the top TFT, then you get all the electronic features through the app and all of that, including panic brake alerts, which is when you brake harder. And they measure decel in some way. If you want me to look it up, I can. Honestly, it's not a big deal.
Deceleration means how many Gs?
In some way or another, there's a meters per second square figure that they arrive at, and it's above that and whatever, then they trigger the indicators to flash, etc.
And this also has connected vehicle tech.
Connected vehicle tech is the same TVS Smart Connect suite, so you get phone calls and whatever, turn-by-turn navigation, etc. It's all
so the panic alerts go to whom?
No, the indicators flash.
Acha.
I think it has fall detection also, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check and I will put this up. And to me, these are honestly, it's good to have, but this is not central to your purchase decision, so I'm not really fussed about it. But the base model with the non-TFT screen does not have many of these features. So don't assume that I can save 10,000 rupees and somehow add them back. That's not going to happen. So if you're researching the scooter, use our guides on the app if you want to. The feature sets will be there, etc. But remember that the connected feature sets, geofencing, whatever, is all on the TFT model. It is not available on the base model and not retrofittable as far as I know.
Is there any reason to not go for the base model?
No, I would always buy the base model for scooters.
In this,
To me, these TFTs
it's
add
the
very
same
little value.
bricks. It's the same bricks for the base model.
It's all the same. Hardware
It's
is
just the screen.
It's just the screen. And the telematics features, as TVS likes to call it, that arrive with the screen. You miss out on those, and that's fine with me. We said this for the Suzuki Access also. We said Suzuki Access is a middle model called the Special. And that is, the word special is important. Please buy that one. Don't buy the TFT one. It's not important. On the Aerox, there is a key model and a keyless model. I would buy the keyed model. To me, this is nice to tell your friends, but does it fundamentally add value to the way you live? No, it does not. Right? Then comes the question of design. It is an interesting design. It sort of references the Ntorq and it sort of moves on. Some of the elements are really, really nice. Like, they've taken a black fairing piece and they've set 4 projector LEDs into that fairing piece. So at first, you don't even think the thing has a headlight. And then when you turn them on, then you realize there's high beams and low beams, and two LEDs come on. And that looks really cool. And it looks really international cool. Like, it's almost like TVS's Indonesian adventure showed them scooters that do this really well, and an idea came from there. And then it was incorporated in their talk. So that step forward. There's a weird nose, which can look good in pictures sometimes, can look terrible in pictures sometimes. In the flesh, you will sometimes feel like, yeah, that's nice. And sometimes you feel like you won't, whatever your perspective is, I'm okay with this. All the lines are a little bit cleaner. The panels are flatter and bigger, so it doesn't look as busy as an Ntorq. So it looks sharp. It looks stylish enough, I think, but it looks less busy than an Ntorq does. And I think we are passing through that generation where the number of graphics on everything is sort of calming down a little bit. So there's not lots of graphics going on this scooter, which I think works well. And you'll recognize familiar elements. Like I said, the fuel filler cap looks exactly the same as before, because it is exactly the same as before. So overall, this is fundamentally where we are at. I have doubts about the ride quality. I will not fully comment on it. I have doubts about how exciting this will feel to ride in a traffic situation. On its own, you can see the step up, that TVS kept the quality level going higher and higher and higher. And the TVS Ntorq 125 was not the greatest place to start anyway, so the difference looks even larger than it is. Whereas if you compare it to today's current TVS products, then this is at par with all of them. 1. 2, definitely good performance with a lot of smoothness and sophistication. 3, very nice in the corners. As exciting to ride as an Ntorq 125, I am not sure. More competent than the Ntorq 125, I'm absolutely sure. This is the story of this.
It's like the Pulsar situation, the P220 and the NS200.
Yes, but see, on the Pulsar situation, the thing is, with a motorcycle, your expectations are pretty crystal clear. With a scooter, we are passing through that phase where we will become crystal clear about scooters. You know, it's like there are people who still say that if the Aerox had a flat floorboard, then I would be happy with an Aerox. And that's effectively saying that if the Pulsar was a twin-cylinder 650, I'd be happy with a Pulsar. It's not how the format works, right? So we are passing through that phase. And when we finish passing through the phase, I think people will be a lot clearer about what kind of product they want. And that will allow manufacturers to also focus their products more narrowly. Like, I don't know that TVS can build out an all-out sporty Ntorq 150 and then reasonably expect it to sell in good numbers.
Actually, forget. Are they planning to expand the Ntorq family, like to a larger displacement? Is there something like that?
TVS is a listed company. They cannot say any of these things.
Because to me, this sounds like Ntorq version 2.5, let's say. Like, they've taken the 125 and said that, yeah, we could provide a slightly differentiated Ntorq, which is for a slightly different taste, but largely in the same space, right?
But that's the handcuff.
But that is why I'm asking, is there now the next flagship Ntorq, like what the Ntorq did for TVS?
I don't know. Okay. See, think about it like this, right? Let's say that we were to put a gun to the Honda motorcycle scooter India head and say, evolve the Activa. He could. As soon as you give up the idea that that evolution has to also be commercially as successful or better than the current Activa, because the expectation for the Activa is set in the market saying, I want that. You can break that expectation quite easily. But to continue the expectation, you have to give up a lot of what you've learned and saying, if I do that, the customer might say no.
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying, that they need to push the Ntorq idea further. They've done it once, which was the first Ntorq. Now they've done the 150, which feels like I think,
A good step up.
evolution. Yeah, like a evolution in that sense, slightly different flavor
But
for the
how do you know
Ntorq
what will
family.
happen in 7 years' time, Karthik? It took them 7 years to get from the 125 to 150.
So imagine if they had a 175,
It
which
doesn't matter,
was
no, I'll be
all out.
retired by then. What difference does it make?
Okay.
As in, I think that the Ntorq product could have evolved a heck of a lot faster.
I think what I'm trying to say is that TVS has the latitude and they have the ability in the brand that the Ntorq is, in the engineering abilities that they have, to actually grow this family out.
Oh, yeah,
To
absolutely.
actually make it an Ntorq family which goes to different sizes and slightly different moods, and it's fine because that's their performance range.
152% for sure. But TVS is not the company that takes those kind of flying leaps forward. They suss, they judge, then they take 30,000 electronic instruments and measure the ground under the next step and say, is this safe enough? And then they take that step. That is changing slowly. And we'll discuss that when we talk about the TVS Orbiter, because I've had a very interesting conversation with somebody there. I don't want to leak that conversation into this conversation. To me, TVS is a slow-moving organization that likes to do stuff where security of what is going to happen next is more or less guaranteed. And therefore, I would say, if I were to put TVS into a corner, say, build me a 650cc twin touring scooter, they would not bat an eyelid and be able to do it. It's well within what they're able to do today. But the business case for that 650 twin would have to be so strong. And then you'd have to give them so much time to make sure that all the little bits are in place, that it would take a long time to come.
Tell me, in any of the presentations, did they say that the chassis is all new?
No.
Now, see, that's the difference between old TVS and new TVS.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that he said is more than enough ground for any new product
Yeah.
launch to say new chassis.
Yeah.
New chassis, right? Because we made it lighter, and surely they would have played around with diameters and materials, which means it's a new chassis, right?
Yeah.
But TVS will, that old TVS modus, no. We've
Yeah.
done this work, it's
Yeah.
not all new.
Yeah. No, and see, I understand the approach also.
And it's good, it's good.
And TVS's success is not coming from doing outrageously great product after outrageously great product. It has come from doing well calculated, well positioned, precise products that target specific things. And to me, if I look at it from that perspective, the Ntorq 150 makes sense, maybe not on the time scale, but as a product scale. Because if the Ntorq 150 was supposed to happen the way it has, maybe it had needed to happen 3 years ago. Maybe the Ntorq 125 generation 2 should be out already at this point of time, and effectively we are running an evolution of that first scooter. So could they move faster? Yes. But does TVS traditionally move fast on successful products? No, they do not. When they do, can they produce huge surprises? Yes, look at the Jupiter 110 as a family scooter, my God.
Correct.
Right? So I can see the ability. I can see that they are willing to take a slightly larger risk than before, which I really like, and that's part of the Orbiter conversation that we'll have. But are they fundamentally risk takers in this sense, or they've reached the point of saying we have such well-entrenched successful products that us messing around a little bit with products should be okay? It's not a constant yet, and I hope that it becomes, because when they mess around, they get more stuff right than they get wrong.
And will this chassis and updates also be transferred to the 125?
It makes sense to me that if the Ntorq 125 becomes lighter in the process and a little bit more sophisticated in the process, but retains the fundamental characters, then it will become a better scooter. But I have obviously no active confirmation of any sort on or off the record saying that this is going to happen.
Because while we haven't discussed it, you've said that it's effectively the same thing in terms of chassis, so wheelbase and stuff like that is all the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's only the suspension tune you said where they've gone and changed stuff around.
Correct. No, I'm absolutely on the same boat as you on this front. It should go back to the 125. It will definitely improve the 125 in very specific and forecastable ways, let's call it. Will they do it? When will they do it? No news.
And with regards to the refinement, aside from the geometry of the engine changing, like your bore stroke ratios, and therefore the refinement adjustments, what would have happened? Anything else that they have done to improve refinement consciously?
Optimization.
Acha, okay. That answer. We'll be doing a car motoring first, in which a lot of this is gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Optimization is the now new catch-all word. It's like the journalists always evaluate stuff as nice, which is a catch-all word for stuff that didn't offend you in any particular way. Optimization is the new engineering term for everything that we like. It's like a quarter of a millimeter changed here and a quarter of a millimeter changed. I mean, how can I go into a list of like 300 of these things? So we optimized it.
Nice is a terrible word. Just remember
I
that.
think it's a nice word. It's just misused.
Whenever you say nice, it means it's a very generic thing to say. You haven't really hit on what you actually want to say about it. Nice is like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah, so let me just go back to my notes. And for example, when they were making the rivals list for this scooter, you'll see why I'm saying that TVS is hedging against a lot of scooters. On that list are Zoom 160, Zoom 125, Dio 125, Aerox, Razor, Dio 110. So anything remotely considered sporty, for example, is a potential conquest customer for the Ntorq 125. Which is why I think the price is in the middle, the spec is in the middle, the wheels are in the middle. They're not 10 inches, but they're not also 14 inches. It's calculated to do that. It hinges on the Ntorq brand being a strong brand. It does many of the Ntorq things that it's supposed to, but it is a scooter with a clear business case for what it needs to do next. Right? The Race XP, for your information, came out in 2021.
Okay.
So the scooter that I love the most about the Ntorq in itself today is 5 years old, effectively.
Yeah, after first COVID.
Right? There was a little bit of talk about masculinity, which sort of strikes like a discordant note in 2025 when we are so gender aware. Girls can ride Ntorqs too. Please feel free to. They're good fun scooters.
And you might like that they're masculine.
Yeah, and if you're a male person and you've decided to get yourself a sporty scooter but have not tried out the Scooty Zest because it's branded the female scooter, you're also missing out. Right?
Like, honestly, we've asked TVS to make it in just like normal colors.
Yeah.
And guys would buy it because of how much fun it is to ride.
Yeah. Then this is billed as a hyper sports scooter.
Okay.
That's a flag to me. Personally, this is a personal thing. Everything that has been branded hyper in India has failed to sell.
What was the last thing?
The bike that dominated the night failed to dominate the night,
Oh,
then became a
hyper.
hyper riding, then it is still, the sales are hyper low.
Okay.
I'm sorry if you own one, okay? This is not personal. Then I have a quote which I have written down because it obviously caught my attention. The winglets on the Ntorq 125 add a touch of performance.
Winglets. It has winglets.
Okay, that's about everything that needs to be said about
Where are
this.
they?
On the sides.
On the side.
Well, if there was a winglet pointed in front, it would do
No, I
nothing.
thought maybe front downforce or something like that.
It's exactly that. They said scooters have rearward weight bias, so we put small winglets in the front, which are not a design element, which are a functional element, and they add a little bit of.
Also crash guard.
The less we discuss this, the better, I think.
That's okay.
Because on the RR310, I think it was exemplary, where there were winglets on that bike, and there were some numbers thrown around saying, oh, it does this, oh, it does this, when at top speed.
Okay, I haven't seen the pics. I just saw the pics, like in the sense that I know what the face is like. I haven't seen the
The
details.
side blade, at the top of it is the winglet.
So it's like a blade sticking out, or it's like a box kind of thing?
No, it's a little blade sticking out.
Okay.
Compression ratio on this engine is higher than the last one. Some of it is just emissions also. So it was 10.3 is to 1 for the Ntorq 125. This is 11.3 is to 1. We did ask the question saying in IGO assist, etc. is not in one mode and is available in the other mode, and why are you doing so much experience curation, as it were, which TV should really be paying that kind of attention to UI UX more than this kind of thing. And they said, we don't believe that a person in street mode is going to use that much acceleration. So what's the point of giving them boost? Dual channel ABS questions were not answered clearly because they're saying we have the capability to deploy dual channel ABS. It's not really a crisis.
Even with the drum?
No, the drum will switch to a disc, obviously. But they're saying until the government clarifies their stand on when two-wheelers need to have ABS in what form and fashion and all those details become clear, deploying an Ntorq 125 with twin discs and dual channel ABS is not that big a deal. So today they're saying we don't have a clear answer as to when, how and what. But they also said TVS has a history of being ahead of the requirement in terms of legal. So why would you assume that we wouldn't be able to do it with an Ntorq 125? Traction control cuts both the spark and the fuel when it needs to control the stuff, and it is based purely on wheel speed monitoring. There's no IMU and all of this drama going on. Because the bike pulls so much data for your telematics, it also has incognito mode, which means you can switch yourself out of the TVS data reporting network. Yep, that's the story, unless you have more questions.
Time for a quick summary.
Right.
Today we've been talking about the TVS Ntorq 150 and starting with the basics, the chassis in terms of size and all is the same. The engine is also derived from the Ntorq 125, but it has been bored, it has been stroked to get to the 150cc displacement, and of course it is more powerful. It has two ride modes, the base of which is called Street and has about 10.6 PS of power, and the more powerful one, which is Race, is 13.2 PS of power. So it is a more powerful scooter than the 125, but fundamentally the difference between the Ntorq 125 and the 150 is in the feel of it, and that's because the 125 has this raw, sporty kind of feel, and it's not necessarily a polished feel, but it has that rawness about it, and that's what has given it its personality and also its fan following. Which means that you would feel a pulse from the handlebar when you were revving it out. The bike would also feel bussy, call it a bike. It would also feel a bit heavy. It used to have rattles from the plastics, which is a different matter altogether, but it had this characteristic which has kind of been ironed out with the 150. This feels smoother, it feels quicker, of course, and one of the advantages is that chassis, while the dimensions are the same, it has been optimized, weight has been reduced. The Ntorq used to feel heavy. This has shed a fair bit of weight, and so it's at about 120 kilos.
30.
30?
13.
113,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
113 kilos. So it's significantly lighter than the other 150 options that you'd be looking at. So this is significantly lighter. And so while it may have less power than them, it does have more torque than them, and it comes in earlier. So the performance is as you'd want in the Ntorq, which is punchy. The CVT also, like Shumi said, just kicks in nice and crisp. It doesn't really feel like it has lag. It's only when you get past 80, 90 kilometers an hour that you'll feel that there is some softening to the performance happening. In relation to CVT sportiness, the reference that Shumi drew was the SR175, which still feels like the sportiest direct kind of feel, but this is a good setup. The interesting idea that Shumi brought up over there was that using the calibration for the throttle and slight tuning for the CVT, it could be possible to make the Ntorq 150 feel racier than it is right now and give it some of that 125 personality back. The other big thing that has changed is the exhaust note. It has mellowed down, and that's because of emission norms. Whatever the rules are right now, it has to be softer than what it was earlier. So that is also a slight personality change. Now the Ntorq 150 is looking different. It has a black panel in the front with 4 LED headlamps underneath it, so they're not visible at first, but then when they turn on, you can see them. It has a international feel to it. It does feel sporty. It has some absurd things, like it has 2 small winglets on the sides, and it has some of the familiar misses from the 125, like the tail panel where the external fuel filler is. That surround has always been plasticky. The way it opens has always been, well, not really premium. It just pops open and shutters over there. That's all the same even on this 150. So some improvements that could and should have been made haven't happened. The top spec variant is the one that gets a LCD screen, which also comes with telematics, and the recommendation is don't go for this variant. It's 10k extra for not really that much more benefit. You can go for the lower variant where you'll get a regular screen without the telematics, and everything else is the same. Front wheel gets ABS, the tires are good, the handling is strong. Shumi, you're scraping plastics on the surround for the stand on the second lap itself, which shows that how quickly the confidence in the scooter came about. The brakes are good, the tires are good, so it is strong performance, stronger than what you'd imagine for the spec on paper, and it is fun in that way, but not as engaging as, let's say, the 125 was. The handling is still strong. The only question that remains to be seen is, when you hit the road, will the suspension feel firm, unusable, or just firm? So that's one aspect that has to be cleared up. And then, of course, whether the smoothness and all adds to the usability or detracts from the emotional connect that you had from the Ntorq 150. Prices, about 1,19,000 for the base, 1,29,000 for the high variant, which is about 15,000 more than the the 125. At the upper end, about 20 away from the Zoom 160 and the Aerox 155. So it's in that in-between zone, hasn't really taken those head-on, and kind of close enough to the 125s as well. So it's sitting there in the middle. Is that a good idea or not? We don't know as of now. We'll see how many people take this up. But it sounds like an interesting scooter.
And the only detail I forgot to mention is the Ntorq 150 now has a little glove compartment with a, not a lockable, but it clicks into place and closes. And you can, in theory, put a phone plus plus.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Question from Circles.
Okay, let's go.
So we had, Karthikeya and I both had posted about, would you have questions about the Ntorq 150? And he's just opening the MotorInc app, going into Circles
and like we said earlier, this is the point where we'll cut if you're watching this on YouTube and go right to the end. If you want to get the questions from Circles section, come to the MotorInc app. You'll find the entire video there in its entirety and all the other videos which you may have not caught up or have yet to be released on YouTube. And there's lots coming. He's been riding a lot of motorcycles and scooters. They'll be there on the app first.
Nice.
And what can we expect next?
Zoom 160, Ntorq. No, sorry. Ntorq we just did. Orbiter. Did we do the Aprilia SR 175 MotorInc First?
Can you believe it? When we started this conversation, I thought back to the SR.
We have done it.
I can't remember whether we have.
Sorry. Let me ask the people behind the camera. Have we done the Aprilia SR 175 MotorInc First? They're saying no.
Oh, thank God. So it's not just forgettable. I thought it was forgettable, which is why we've forgotten about it.
No, which means that we have fewer recording slots we've blocked for this than we need.
I thought we had recorded the SR 175.
Okay, we'll double check. So it's basically been, the Diwali thing is getting compressed. So we've ridden or about to ride lots of bikes. Zoom 160, TVS Orbiter. The Scram 440 has actually arrived in the studio and it's parked outside, and I haven't even more than looked at it for the last 5 days straight now because it's been something or the other every single day.
No, we ended up waiting for it for a long time. So the time that was available kind of passed, and now he has to figure out when to get to it.
Yeah, so it's here. I just haven't had a chance to test it. And for once, this is one of those few weeks where there are no invitations of Bajaj for new products. So
hey, wait.
What?
International. Wo kahan hai?
That's already been launched, Karthik. We just haven't ridden that Enduro International spec yet.
Yeah, so some Bajaj has to be in the fray, no?
We can't do MotorInc First for that much more suspension travel. I mean, come on. How critical could that possibly be, right? No, we'll figure all of this stuff out. So there's a lot going on, and you'll see a lot of MotorInc First coming at you. By the time this releases, just double check. We might have released the RTR 310 MotorInc First. There's so many MotorInc First, and that product does so little in sales, and I consider it so unimportant that it is going and sitting in the app, and I don't have a slot to release it on YouTube at all. It is free to watch, etc., etc. So if you're interested in that bike and you're looking for a story for it, it will only be on the app for now. It is not coming to YouTube anytime soon. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. This was the MotorInc First about the TVS Ntorq 150. And I'm moving a little bit quickly because we thought this was also going to be a short conversation. I'm not kidding. But here we are at...
It's because Vinay asked too many questions.
We are well past the 1 hour mark here in this conversation. So yeah, if you have any more questions, hit us up on Circles, hit us up in this video. We'll talk to you on YouTube, on Instagram, in that order, and keep asking us questions. That's something that we keep looking forward to every time we're doing a MotorInc First. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that is one big reason we'd love for you to be in the app, because we can talk better there. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching.